Well, the first topic, this is one for the ages for all of New Zealand and for the world as well. The new Super Rugby champions have been crowned 5 times in a row, 12 times overall, the Crusaders. Are they the most hated team in Super Rugby?
Of course they are.
I knew you'd be a hater, Goran.
Of course, well, yeah, of course I am. I'm sick and tired of seeing them win and win and win and win and win. Was that 5 wins? Yeah, I'm over it. You know, like I totally respect them. Totally respect them, but I strongly dislike them. That's the word that, or the phrase that was used by Scott Razor Robertson. I strongly dislike them because of their success.
So I'm going to go the other way, but I want to state for a start.
Of course you are.
This is an absolute setup. An absolute setup. You're asking a former player who didn't play for the Crusaders, a Highlander who competed against them, to argue the fact that we don't dislike a team, and the fact you're sitting there after the Chiefs just lost to them. You're a Chiefs fan through and through, and I'm having to sit here try and debate that we don't hate the Crusaders. But I'm going to give you a stitch up, but I still think I can win because I don't think we hate the Crusaders. There are a number of things that give us a reason to dislike them. The fact they have great success. But in the end of the day, if we actually step back and look at what they create and do, I believe that we don't hate them. We hate the fact that they may win on all occasions, but the reality is that what they do and they deliver for the game of rugby union is something that we actually do respect, and in some ways we do support, and we know it's for the good of the game.
So why then for you, Goran, does it go down like a cup of cold sick to see them winning another one?
Well, it's a bunch of things. So, like, I'm a Blues supporter, and this year the Blues were supposed to be good. They weren't. And so when you see your own team fail and struggle and another team, the same old team, continue to raise the bar and go to different levels, it hurts. And it's not just that. It's also a geographical thing, because I'm an Aucklander. And from a very young age, I was taught that Christchurch doesn't like you. Basically, the rest of the country doesn't like you, but there's some strong dislike emanating from the flatlands of Canterbury. And so it's a geographical thing, it's a historical thing, and it's a performance thing. And you know, like I would think that Super Rugby would be a lot more attractive to the rest of the country if teams like the Blues and the Chiefs more consistently stood up and got in their face. And one last thing before I hand it over to Jeff, who I'm sure is just going to like poo-poo everything I've just said. New Zealand has a really bad issue with cutting down tall poppies. At the moment,
You're doing it, Goran.
Yeah, well, look, the Crusaders are the tallest poppy in all of the land. And so with that success, the poppy grows and people like me are going to chop them down. And it's not to say that I out and out hate anybody who wears red and black. I think there's a difference between a sporting hatred and hating a person. Because I don't want to go down there and like, you know, attack Razor and the Crusaders. What they've done is absolutely remarkable. Their achievements have been brilliant, legendary. But in terms of a sporting sense, I strongly dislike them, to go back to the phrase that Razor used.
And the reason he's saying that is the fact that sometimes as coaches you look for reasons to motivate your team. It was no different when I was playing. The fact that at the moment you went in, okay, we hate Auckland. They win all the time, right? We've been through that. We've been through that here in New Zealand. The fact that we understand that when someone has continued success, and what we're experiencing right now with the Crusaders, that's exactly what they're having. And look, I think the reality is that in the end there are so many things that they do which we envy, that we are jealous of. The fact that they are able to have that on a regular basis, that I think all of those things lead to that point of, you know what, I think we're doing and saying things without the consideration of all of the things that happen in behind the scenes, the things that they do. The fact that what they do is they create winners. And we respect that. What do I say? They develop great players, and that helps the All Blacks be better. They've got a system where they are humble. They are absolutely humble. The fact they do understand what it takes to be successful. They're connected to their community. If you think of all the things the organisation has had to overcome, and that's what I think, you know, on the surface of things, it's an instant reaction. And that's what we get. And sometimes when you grow up, it's black and white. The fact that we're in, this is a fight and a scrap we're in, and that's our neighbours. And I had it with the Highlanders playing the Crusaders, Otago playing Canterbury, but it was Otago playing Southland. It was the Chiefs playing the Crusaders. This rivalry gets to the point where you need a word to describe it. And you go to that point, you go, well, I hate them. It's easy to say. Reality is, I don't think that's the case. You understand exactly what they are.
Well, as I say, Jeff,
unbelievable franchise.
Yeah, of course.
Whose levels are something that everyone envies.
Yeah.
That they're trying to and it is jealousy, and the fact that we say there.
Totally.
Okay, but that's my
Goran's
point.
jealous.
Yeah, I am jealous. I wish the Blues had the same success.
And how can
then the rest of the country would hate the Blues.
So this isn't about the Blues, though. This isn't about the Blues. Is it about the Blues for you?
No, it's about everybody failing to recognise how good they are and step up to that level. Like not being able to hit the same marks that the Crusaders are. And so, you know, you as a Chiefs supporter, you must get tired of it, Kirstie, like seeing the Crusaders dominate and dominate and dominate.
We do get tired of it, but again, I don't hate them. I think I'm envious of what they can do. I mean, there's a famous quote, it's harder to stay at the top than to get to the top. How have they managed to win again and again and again when they have been the hunted every year for the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Someone's been coming at them.
And that's
great point.
And how in the world can you hate them, though? Based on exactly what you're saying, you cannot sit here and tell me right now that you've got a dislike for Scott Robertson. You think what he has done...
Everyone loves him.
No,
and that's
I don't. But I've got a dislike for their success. Yeah.
And so
as I said earlier, I'm not going to go down there and try and hunt down Scott Robertson and go, you bastard, your team's too good. You know, like that's not going to happen.
So
but it's sporting hatred, and it's different from out-and-out hate, as I said earlier.
So why isn't the question, like you're saying, more in the fact that why cannot everyone else do this? Why cannot the Chiefs, the Blues, who are trying to reach that level? Now, the other thing that they do incredibly well is they identify talent, they develop talent, but they don't just do it within their own four walls, their own boundaries. They bring in and bring players into, but doesn't stop
Whitelocks.
Yes, but it doesn't stop players leaving their environment who went to school.
No.
Anton Leonard-Brown, Damian McKenzie. They're not just doing it for the betterment of their local team, their one side. They're doing it for the betterment of the country. A Sam Darry, for example, who's now playing for the Blues. He could quite easily have stayed in their environment. He's seen the pathway as blocked by some wonderful players. So to me, I get this historic rivalry. We have dealt in the past with this, and it hasn't been at a situation at professional level until 1995-96 when the game went professional. Before that, it was a pure and simple, the boundaries were the provinces played the provinces and the players were local and they went against each other, and the boundaries, and if you went up State Highway 1 or down State Highway 1, that's where the rivalry started. All of a sudden now it's success inherently, and people are holding on to this. The easiest thing to say is, I hate the Crusaders.
Yeah.
You know. But in reality, I don't think that's what people deep down, if they are looking at what they've created and what they've done, you're going, you know what, I really wish we were like them. Yeah. I wish we could have that success, and the challenge is for everybody else to find a way. And the Chiefs have gone close.
The thing that raises the ire of people outside of the Canterbury region is that there has been quite a bit of change within the squad as well in that time. Like when they won in 2017, yeah, they had the Mitchell Drummonds and you know, Richie Mo'unga was there, but they weren't playing like big time roles. It was, you know, Israel Dagg was there. Ryan Crotty played. Who else? Seta Tamanu-Valu was on one of the wings. Kieran Reid, Matt Todd, Jordan Taufua,
it was an All Black
Owen Franks, Wyatt Crockett. You know,
these guys have all moved on.
Yeah, I've just named half the goddamn team, right? And they move on, and somehow Razor still finds a way to win. Which
is what you're talking about.
Which infuriates the masses even more, because, you know, other teams would say, we lost so much talent, we're going through a rebuilding phase. Not the Crusaders, they just plough on and win anyway.
Yeah, but that to me, once again, they plough on. And whether that's a sense of frustration, or the fact you ask the question of your own organisations, or the fact that when a team's got that, and success can breed success, and we've seen that in the past, and we've seen players who have gone into their environment and got better. We've seen players who haven't managed to do that. I think we shouldn't underestimate the fact that as a organisation, that they've managed to create the perfect franchise, because when you can keep players and it doesn't become about money. And that's the other thing. They haven't bought players. They've developed players.
Yeah.
And to me, that's another difference. The fact that the frustration, if I was a Hurricanes fan, but knowing that your very best player, Beauden Barrett, he went to Auckland for, and you would have to say, reward, and his reward was remuneration. He wanted to change his scenery, but there wasn't enough to keep him down there to believe he could be a contender. For me, and win titles, Richie Mo'unga, he's not going anywhere.
No one leaves the Crusaders.
No one leaves the Crusaders.
They come down, but they don't leave.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's like a Melbourne Storm, a Sydney Roosters, if I can use an NRL analogy. You know, people don't they want to go to those clubs because of the successful environment that is there, and they can pay unders to get people into their franchise or their team, whereas other teams are forced to pay overs to get big name players that ultimately might not work out because they don't have the structures or the systems in place. So yeah, the Crusaders are the...
I would say this though, and this is probably to help your argument a little bit.
Thanks, mate. I need a bit of help.
You do. I think there's in and around their supporter and fan base in Christchurch and in Canterbury in particular, they can from occasion be a little bit one-eyed. You know, they can put the facts right. Yeah. I know.
Examples.
No, I mean, here's the funny thing. And I feel for Justin in this regard because reality is the best players, the majority of the best players, if you're talking through Super Rugby, they've got a huge number. Poor old Marshy has to pick a side every week, and he's sitting there going, if I put too many Crusaders in, I'm going to crack it. Reality is the reason they're at the top and they won another title is they have the best players, and they continue to do that. But at the same time, their supporter base, which is incredibly loyal in the fact, and sometimes to the point, I wonder whether they love the Crusaders more than they love the All Blacks, to be fair. They drive things, and you see even on the weekend, you know, when Damien McKenzie's taking shots at goals, all of a sudden the voices come up and the boos come out because they're so desperate for their team to win. And I think that can add a little bit of fuel to the fire. But on the same side of it, they are passionate about their team. To turn up to Orange Theory Stadium and watch games at that place,
well, why did it take them so long?
That's a commitment. That's a commitment.
They didn't sell out that final until Friday afternoon, though. 17,000.
Yeah,
Any other stadium in the country would have sold out.
Well, I
don't know about Eden Park selling out.
You're getting it. No, I'm sorry, but you're waiting for the last possible moment in regards to the weather report.
And the weather report was good, wasn't it?
And it still rained. It still rained, and half the crowd got wet, if not all of the crowd got wet.
They started to see Razor dance, didn't
they?
Luckily
it wasn't cold. We're here now. We're already wet.
We may as well stay.
You know, so the loyalty that they show is something that we should envy as well. Yeah. You know, the fact the moment, let's just in 4 or 5 years' time, if they get a stadium with a roof, look out. Yeah. The other thing I want to say is the fact that they play remarkable rugby. They really, really do. I mean, it's not like they go out there and what they have the ability is to adapt conditions, but when the conditions are good and they can play, they play. It's not like the fact that they play 10-man rugby and they try and grind you out and drive you down. They actually do some wonderful, wonderful stuff and evolve the game. And so for me, if I'm talking about the big picture of the game in New Zealand, what they're offering us in terms of our ability for the All Blacks to be better, we should well and truly celebrate. And so once again, I come back to the fact, if you step back, forget about that rivalry on the surface, the tall poppy syndrome you're talking about, the fact trying to tear people down. In the end, you'll go, would we be better off with or without the Crusaders' legacy right now? I guarantee you, everyone would agree this has been great for us and great for the game in New Zealand.
It's a mark of respect, I think, that the rest of the country would strongly dislike them. Because when you are the best...
You're so hard to keep that hate word out of it. The strong dislike, the intense
I'm
dislike.
using the phrase that Razor himself uttered. And, you know, I think, it's a mark of respect because, you know, like, does anybody right now hate the Highlanders or strongly dislike the Highlanders or the Chiefs or any of the other teams in the competition? It's something that is created through success. I mean, if you went to Italian football, you know, do you think the majority of Italian football fans would love Juventus? Probably not after winning 9 straight titles. You know, it's just something that happens.
We do love the underdog.
When you're the very best at your game.
And everyone's been an underdog for a number of years. But
and if you love the underdog, then you dislike the overdog? Is that the term? An overdog?
I mean,
let's go with overdog.
Perennial champions is what you're looking at. But it's not to say that teams haven't had their opportunity to beat the Crusaders. They've had the chances. The Chiefs had their opportunity on the weekend.
And they blew it. 13 men, Kirstie. Goodness gracious me. I mean, that's another reason why you hate them. Well, I used the word again. Sorry. I don't hate them. But 13 men and they still beat the Chiefs in a final. Come on.
Fairly one-sided argument, I think. I'm sorry, Goran, but you know where I'm going with this one. I have to side with Jeff. I don't think we hate them. I think we envy them. We're jealous of what they do. They've won 12 titles, and I think we have to marvel at what this franchise has done.
I said all along I respect them for what they do.
I guilted Kirstie in it right at the start. I put that Chiefs thing into it, and I do appreciate it.
Plus, I think there's a rugby thing going on in rugby league over here. It's not fair. It's a 2-on-1.
No, it is not.
It's a 2-on-1.